The last program that we had written was like this, that the number of lines inputted, these many number of stars will be printed. Now here also the input remains the same, but the output I change a little bit. How do I change it? Say it looks like this, the output looks like this, that over here, say in the 5th line there are 5 stars. Here also in the 5th line, let there be 5 stars. After this first star, there are maybe 1, 2, 3 gaps. In the 4th gap, I put a star. 4th line. 1, 2, 3, and then I put a star. So 1, 2, 3, I put a star. 1, 2, 3, I put a star. Like this, 5 stars are present in the 5th line. In the 4th line, there will be 4 stars, but in a different way. How? This line will contain the star over here, this line will contain the star over here, and next star will be over here, and the next star will be over here. A design, I want to make a design. And in the 3rd line, the idea will be like this, that over here there will be a star, here there is a star, here there is a star. Similarly, in the 2nd line, there will be 2 stars. See, the concept is same. 5th line, see, this is the 5th line, 5 stars. In the 4th line, 4 stars. In the 3rd line, 3 stars. In the 2nd line, 2 stars. But how will these 2 stars be present? Here and here. And in the 1st line, 1 star. So where will this 1 star be present? Check out where. This star will be present over here. So it looks like a triangle, or what should I say, a wonderful triangle like this. So say suppose had there been 6 lines, then the idea would have been like this. In the 6th line, the stars would have looked like this: star, 3 gaps, 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 star, 6 stars. In the 5th line, the 5th line will not look like this. Instead, 5th line will look like this. 2 gaps between at the beginning. And 4th line will be looking like this. The 3rd line will look like this. 2nd line will look like this. 1st line will look like this. Now, this is for 6 lines. You understand? This is for 6 lines. Had I told 7 lines, then I would have done the same thing, but in the 7th line there would be 1 star over here, 3 gaps, 2nd star, 3 gaps, 3rd star, 3 gaps, 4th star, and so on. 5th star, 3 gaps, 6th star, 3 gaps, 7th star. Now in the 6th line would have looked like this. 5th line would have looked like this. 4th line like this, 3rd line like this, 2nd line like this, 1st line like this. So the 7 lines of stars will look like this. Now how do you write the program? See, if you look at the previous program, in the previous program you did exactly the same thing. I was moving from 1 to lines and I plus plus. Every time you entered the for loop, outer for loop, I was containing the line number. You are entering with I equal to 1 means you are in the 1st line. Second time with a slash n, when you come back, you are in the 2nd line and I becomes 2. So you are entering this for loop with the 2nd line, in the 2nd line with I equal to 2. With I equal to 3, you enter the 3rd line. With I equal to 4, you enter the 4th line. And every time the number of lines, that many number of whatever is the line number, that many number of stars were being printed. Here also I want to do the same thing. I want to print that many stars in the as is the line number. Say in the 7th line, when I enter with I equal to 7, so j will move from 1 to 7. You check out, when I enter the outer for loop with I equal to 7, j is actually iterating from 1 to 7. So 7 stars are being printed. You want to print 7 stars in the 7th line. You want to print 6 stars in the 6th line. But every time in whatever is the line number, every time you want to start from a certain gap. every time you want to start from a certain gap. In this example, if you are in the 7th line, that is before you print the stars, what I mean to say is before you print the stars, you need to give a little bit of gap, that's all. You are actually printing 6 stars in the 6th line, 5 stars in the 5th line, so the program can remain the same. Only change that you need is you need to put a bit of gap before printing the stars, that is before you go to this for loop of printing the stars in the ith line, you need to put a bit of gap. Say when you are in the last line, no gap, 7th line, no gap in our example, 6th line, a bit of gap, 5th line, a bit of gap. So what is that gap? What amount of gap do you need to give before every printing, before the start of printing of stars, before every line? What I do over here is, I simply remove this slash t this time and say instead of slash t, I will give 3 gaps, 1, 2, 3. So see what that is exactly what I have done to keep the calculation correct. I have kept 1 after printing this star, 1, 2, 3, and I have printed the next star. So 3 gaps in between. So you check out how to write this program. You are in the 7th line. What amount of gap do you need before printing the stars? Before starting to print the stars, see between the gaps, between the stars, this 3 space gap is enough. Everywhere you print this star, 3 gaps are there. So between one star and the next star, always there are 3 gaps. See between this star and this star, 3 gaps. Between this star and this star, 3 gaps. Always these 3 gaps will be printed by that. This portion of the code where I have given this 3 gaps. But before printing the star in a particular line, I need to give that gap. That I am trying to calculate over here. In the 7th line, what amount of gap you have given? 0 gap. 7th line, no gap at all. Check out this 7th line, no gap at all. But in the 6th line, what amount of gap have you given? 1, 2, here you are not printing here. 1 gap, 2 gap. So in the 6th line, you are basically giving 2 gaps. Am I correct about it? Do you understand this? When you are in the 5th line, what amount of gap you are giving before printing? Between the stars there are 3 gaps, no problem with that. But before the starting of that, how many gaps? Here you are present normally, 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gap, 4 gaps. So in the 5th line, you are giving 4 gaps. Check out this one, 5th line, 4 gaps. So check out in the 4th line, what are you doing? 4th line, you are here, 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gap, 4 gap, 5 gap, 6 gaps. So in the 4th line, you are giving 6 gaps. In the 3rd line, how many gaps are you giving? You can guess, it will be 8. Check out, you are here. You are here normally, 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gap, 4 gap, 5 gap, 6 gap, 7 gap, 8 gaps. So in the 3rd line, you are giving 8 gaps. Is not so? In the 2nd line, definitely it will be 10 gaps. You can check also, but obviously it is sure. You are here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 gaps. So 2nd line, 10 gaps. And in the 1st line, definitely there will be 12 gaps. How do you know that? You have understood the relation now. So here it is 0, then 2, then 4, then 6, then 8, then 10, then 12. So 1st line, 12 gaps. So if you continue with this, if you generalize it, you can say in the nth line, let us have not 7, but the last number is n. So say suppose after this 6th line, there are a few, what should I say, there are a few gaps. There are a few enters like this. Sorry. You are here. Nth line, 0 gaps. So if you are present in the n minus 1th line, n minus 1th line, how many gaps? Check out what? N minus 1th line, how many gaps? 2 gaps. So n minus 2th line, sorry, n minus 2th line, how many gaps? 4 gaps. So similarly, n minus 3th line, there will be 6 gaps. Is not it so? N minus 4th line, there will be 8 gaps. In the n minus 5th line, there will be 10 gaps. Similarly, here there will be 12 gaps. Here there will be 14 gaps, and so on. It will be continuing. So what I mean to say is, check out how. If this n is say 7, 8, 9, then how does it work? How does it work? It works like this. First line is equal to n minus 1 into 2. First line, you check out how I am saying. First line, in the nth line it is 0 gap, n minus 1th line 2 gaps. So how do we get this 2? This 2 is, see, this is 2, this is 1, this is 2, this is 4. I repeat, see, this is 1, this is 2, this is 2, this is 4. So similarly, if this is n minus 3th line, how many gaps? 6 gaps. If this is n minus 4th line, then 8 gaps. Is not so? N minus 4th line, how many gaps do you need? You need 8 gaps. So this is 4, this is 8. So if it is first line, then first line, what is it basically? First means what? First means n minus 1. Is not it so? First means n minus 1, 1th line. How many gaps will be there? There will be n minus 1 into 2 gaps. Please understand this. N minus 1 into 2 gaps. Why? Because when it is n minus 1, there are 2 gaps. 1, this is 1, this is 2. This is 2, this is 4. This is 3, this is 6. So when it is first, it is n minus 1th line. It is n minus 1 into 2. So the next one is, in the second line, how many gap will be there? So you can understand, I now change it back to first line. I change it, n minus 1th line means first line. So first line, n minus 1 into 2 gaps. In the second line, how much gap will be there? It will be n minus 2 into 2. N minus 2 into 2. Why? I think you understand why. Because second line means n minus 2th line. Second line basically means n minus 2th line. So it's n minus 2 into 2 gaps. So third line, how much gaps will be there? N minus 3 into 3 gaps, into 2 gaps, sorry. N minus 3 into 2 gaps. In the fourth line, n minus 4 into 2 gaps. In the fifth line, n minus 5 into 2 gaps. Sixth line, n minus 6 into 2 gaps. Similarly, nth line, it will be n minus n into 2 gaps. You check out what? In the nth line, 0 is basically n minus n into 2. In the nth line, n minus n into 2 gaps, which is 0. N minus n into 2 gaps is 0. N minus 1th line will be 1 into 2 gaps. This is 1. So this is 1 into 2 gaps and so on. So 2 gaps and so on. So you understand this program, how to write it? So basically what you need to do is, it is the same program. You enter with I equal to the line number, with I equal to the line number. So from j equal to 1 to the line number, you are printing the stars, and after every star 3 gaps. So that many stars are printed. So when you are entering in the sixth line, I is 6. So j from 1 to 6, how many stars printed? 6 stars printed. But before printing the stars in any line, you need to print the gaps also. So how to print that gap? I have told you that I need to print how many gaps? I need to print n minus 1 into 2 or n minus 2 into 2. So basically it is the line number. So with which variable you are entering the line number, with which variable you are entering the for loop, which contains the line number, which variable contains the line number rather, I variable. You check out what you are entering the outer for loop with I containing the line number. So anytime the line number is contained in the ith variable, in the variable I, which means a general way is in any line you need n minus line number, which is what? N minus I into 2 gaps at the start of the line. So in any line you will need how much? In any line you need n minus I into 2 gaps at the start of the line. Is not so? In any line you will need n minus I into 2 gaps at the start of the line. So at the start of the line, when you are printing, when you are entering the line number, you need n minus I into 2 gaps. What to do? For j equal to another for loop, for j equal to 1, not 3 nested for loops, you need only 2 nested for loops. This is a separate for loops for the gap, for putting the gap. For j equal to 1, j less than how much? How much do you need? How many lines do you need? How many gaps do you need? You need n minus I into 2 gaps. So j less than equal to n minus I into 2. So these many gaps you need, n minus I into 2, j plus plus. What you need is just one gap. Printf one gap. You see what have I printed? I have printed a gap. How many gaps will be printed in each line? In each line, when you enter the outer for loop, you are basically entering a line. In that line at the beginning, you put in n minus I into 2 number of gaps and then print the stars. It is as simple as that. You enter a line, in that line you put in n minus I into 2 gaps and then print the stars. Again you enter the next line, printf slash n, you enter the next line, say I enters with 3, you print n minus 1 to n minus 3 into 2. So you enter the third line, n I j equal to 1 to n minus 3 into 2, that many gaps you print, and then you print the stars. When you enter next time with the in the fourth line, I is 4, so j equal to 1 to n minus 4 into 2, that is you print that many gaps and then print the star. So this program will run fine, you can understand. Let me run this program, but before that, don't forget, you also need to comment out these lines. This line, and this line. So let me run the program now. Alt R, enter. Oh, one error. Undefined symbol, n. Yes, sorry, it's not n, it lines. It is lines. Don't forget that I have not, this lines is not n, it is lines. How many lines are there? That is present in the variable lines, not in the variable n. So you need lines minus I into 2. Here I was explaining with n, but here actually I have named it as lines, so it's lines minus I into 2. So let me run the program now. 7 lines to be printed. See how beautiful it looks, 7 lines. What have I done? In the 7th line there are 7 stars. In the 6th line there are 6 stars, but before you start printing the 6 stars, that many gaps, n lines minus I into 2, that many gaps are needed. Lines, total number of lines minus the line number into 2. So you can print it maybe with 12 lines. See how beautiful it looks. You may print it with 15 lines. See how it looks. 15 lines, there are 15 stars in the 15th line, 14 stars in the 14th line, and it looks like a beautiful design. So I think you understand this program. You will hear this once more if you don't understand, but I'm sure that if you try these programs yourself, you can understand it. I will request you to now try to write the program yourself. Without hearing this, try to write the program yourself. Try to do all this analysis that I have done, all this analysis yourself, and try to write the program. You will definitely understand. Thank you so much. Let us take a bit of break and come back.